How ironic it is, the person who leaves you the easiest is often the one who once made you feel the safest, and then they vanish. No goodbye, no clear conflict, just silence, and you left behind with a heart full of unanswered questions. But what hurts the most isn't that they left, it's how they left, making you feel like you never really mattered to them at all. This is what psychologists call avoidant attachment, the kind of person who feels suffocated the closer you get. And the way they run from intimacy doesn't just hurt, it makes you question your intuition, your worth, and even your sanity. They said they needed time, but time turned into silence. Silence turned into distance. And now you're stuck in the loop. Are they thinking about me? Are they coming back? Or was it all just in my head? If you're in that place or you've been there, you're not alone. In this video, I'll walk you through the 7 quiet, emotional stages that avoidant exes often move through before they even consider coming back. You don't need to guess anymore. You just need clarity to decide whether to hold on to them or finally hold on to yourself. Loving an avoidant person feels like loving a ghost. They're there but never fully reachable. They smile at you, text you every day, maybe even sleep beside you at night, but there's always a subtle emotional wall you can't cross. And then one day, they disappear, not in a storm of conflict, but in pure, deafening silence. No warning, no goodbye, no closure. If you've ever been in this kind of relationship, you're not crazy. You're caught in the whirlwind of dismissive, avoidant attachment, a form of attachment where emotional closeness feels like a threat rather than a comfort. To them, intimacy isn't a gift, it's pressure. Being their partner is like walking a tightrope. Too distant, they feel abandoned. Too close, they feel smothered. And that's the heartbreaking paradox of loving an avoidant. The more securely and lovingly you show up, the more they fear you. But what hurts most isn't their departure. It's the question they leave you with. Was I not enough? If I had just needed them less, would they have stayed? What did I do wrong? This is the trap. You begin to doubt yourself. Instead of recognizing that you triggered emotions in them they were never taught to handle. They didn't leave because you lacked value. They left because they didn't know how to stay. Here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear it. Avoidants don't come back because they suddenly realize your worth. They return after cycling through a long, quiet, emotional process, mostly unconscious, and it's a path you can't speed up, control, or shortcut. That's why this matters. Not so you can manipulate them into returning, but so you can free yourself from the illusion that love must be earned through suffering. In the next part, we'll walk you through the 7 emotional stages avoidants often go through before even thinking about reconnecting. Each stage isn't just a sign, it's a psychological window into the hidden tug-of-war happening beneath their silence. And you'll finally realize their silence isn't emptiness, it's a language of fear, disconnection, and unresolved emotion. This is the moment you step into silence, not the kind both people agree to, but the kind where one person pulls the plug while the other is still emotionally plugged in. It's a confusing, painful contradiction. You're falling apart while they seem relieved. There's no anger, no goodbye, no tears, just distance, cold, clean, and quiet, as if you never truly touched their heart. And that leaves you wondering, was I imagining the entire connection? You weren't. You were simply in love with someone who doesn't know how to process closeness. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, emotional intimacy doesn't feel warm, it feels suffocating. It triggers a quiet panic, a loss of identity, a sense that they're losing control. So when they pull away, their first emotional response isn't sadness, it's relief. They convince themselves walking away was the right call. This got too serious, too fast. I needed space, thank God I got it. And you, the one left behind, see it all through your phone screen. Their news stories, their smiling photos, their seemingly peaceful life without you. Meanwhile, you're still trying to understand, trying to hold on, texting them, reaching out. But every message you send only reinforces their reason for leaving. See? This is why I needed space. They're overwhelming. The more you chase, the more you unintentionally betray yourself. Because in that moment, you're not really trying to get them back. You're just trying to escape the pain of being abandoned. And that's why, in this stage, the bravest thing you can do is not to fight for the relationship. It's to step back to protect your dignity and your peace. You didn't cause their disconnection. You didn't push them away. You simply touched a part of them they were never taught how to face. And that is the very place where stage 2 begins, where quiet doubts start to creep in, even if they never admit it out loud. But that relief doesn't last. After you stop reaching out, after the messages stop coming, after your silence sets in not as punishment, but as self-preservation, the space they once craved quietly transforms into a mirror reflecting the emptiness they created. They won't say it out loud, but the questions begin to whisper in their mind. Was I too quick to walk away? Did I just lose someone who actually mattered? Will I ever feel that connection again? Here's the thing about avoidant types. They don't process emotions in real time. They detach, delay, suppress, as if locking every feeling inside a sealed box. But emotions, no matter how buried, always find a way to rise. Then one morning, scrolling through their feed, they stumble upon a photo of you smiling. Or they pass by the coffee shop where you once sat for hours. Or they hear that song you used to play. And it hits something deep, a part of them logic can't manage anymore. Still, they won't reach out. Not yet. They're not ready. But internally, a quiet doubt has been planted. A kind of missing that doesn't make sense, but also won't go away. And this is where most people misstep. You feel the shift. You sense the emotional pull. You think, this is my chance. So you message them. You open your heart. You hope. But here's what you must understand. Your silence is doing exactly what it needs to do. It's giving them space not to miss you artificially, but to finally face the consequences of running from real connection. You don't need to remind them. Their own mind is already doing that for you. And as the doubt grows into longing, as the mind begins to lose its grip on the heart, they cross into stage 3 where their own memories begin to speak louder than logic. The stage of nostalgia and romanticized remembrance, or more precisely, missing you in the exact way they once denied. As doubt begins to shake the foundation of their decision to leave, a new feeling quietly seeps in, sweet, but deceptively powerful. Nostalgia. But this isn't raw, grounded missing. This is selective memory, a curated highlight reel that the avoidant mind plays on loop. Why does this happen? Because the human brain has a bias. It tends to romanticize the past, especially once we're no longer living in it. Now that they've distanced themselves from emotional discomfort, from the tension, the conflict, the vulnerable conversations, all of that fades. What remains is what the brain wants to keep. That warm hug after a hard day. The quiet nights watching your favorite show together. The way you looked at them saying nothing, but somehow making them feel safe. And with those memories, the loss starts to feel real. Now that you're no longer there, the emotional safety you once brought becomes something they can't seem to find anywhere else. They start to feel the absence, but not in a way they fully understand. Instead, they ask themselves, why don't I feel that deep connection with anyone else? Why does everything feel a little dull now? Still, they won't reach out. Not yet. The nostalgia is growing, but so is the fear. The avoidant ego is still in charge, and for now, it prefers daydreams over real action. So they keep watching the highlight reel in their mind, perfectly edited, emotionally filtered, and safe. Meanwhile, you may begin to feel something stirring, a shift in energy, a gut sense that you're back on their mind. But be careful. Missing you is not the same as being ready for you. Nostalgia is not transformation. It's simply the doorway to what comes next. Because once the warmth of memory begins to stir something deeper, they enter stage 4, inner conflict, where they can no longer pretend they feel nothing, but still aren't brave enough to admit they feel everything. As those warm, idealized memories take root, the feelings they once locked away begin to stir again. This is the stage of inner conflict, quiet, chaotic, and intense. The avoidant is no longer sure of anything. One part of them craves the connection they lost. Another part is still terrified of what that connection might mean. They miss you deeply. But they're also afraid that coming back means losing control. afraid that you're no longer there, afraid you'll meet them with the same coldness they once gave you. The push and pull becomes unbearable. Even a simple story you post online, a smile, a passing quote, a photo with friends can stir them emotionally, and yet, instead of expressing it, they pull back again. They go silent, colder even, not because they don't care, but because they're overwhelmed and unsure how to handle what they feel. This is where you might sense they're getting closer, only for them to suddenly disappear again. Don't take it as a game. It's not manipulation. It's an internal war, and they haven't chosen a side yet. A reminder from the secure lens. Don't interrupt this process. Don't comfort fears they haven't taken responsibility for. Don't rescue them from their own growing pains. Let them sit in their confusion, because that tension is the necessary heat for transformation. You can't help someone move through what they still deny is a problem. And eventually, when that tension peaks and they can no longer tolerate the emotional distance, something begins to shift. Not in the form of vulnerability, not yet, but in small, ambiguous gestures meant to check the emotional temperature between you. That's when they move into stage 5. Testing the waters, where they won't say, "I miss you," or "Do you still love me?" But they might leave behind an emoji, a vague question, a key signal to ask, is the door still open, or have you closed it for good? After all the inner turmoil, they start needing something solid, but they won't walk straight up to the door. Instead, they knock gently from a distance, a casual message. "Hey, how have you been?" An emoji under your story, a random question about an old item they left behind months ago. But don't be fooled by how harmless it seems. This isn't friendliness. It's a test. The avoidant isn't ready for closeness, not yet. What they're really checking for is emotional safety. Will you reject them if they move closer? Are you still hurt, still angry, or have you already moved on? This moment isn't about winning them back, and it's about showing them and yourself how much you've grown since they left you in pieces. You don't need to be cold, but don't fall back into the role of emotional caretaker either. They have to learn how to do their part this time. The right response isn't trying to look indifferent. It's being warm, but grounded, gentle, but not inviting false hope, still, but not closed off. And when they see that you don't react from pain or rush to grab the opening, they realize, I can touch this space and not get burned. That's a powerful moment when the avoidant feels safe enough to move a little deeper toward real connection. And it's right here that they begin to step into stage 6, emotional vulnerability, where they're not just testing your safety anymore, but beginning to test themselves. Can I be honest? Can I stay? After testing the waters and sensing that you are neither cold nor desperate, just grounded, they begin doing what avoidants fear most, opening up emotionally. This time, it's no longer vague texts or random emojis. Now, they start saying things that carry weight and, more importantly, depth. It might sound like, I've been thinking a lot about how things ended. I walked past that cafe and remembered what it felt like back then. I'm sorry for making you feel unseen. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, this is a turning point. Not because they want to make amends, but because they're starting to test whether they can stay in connection without losing themselves. Talking about feelings doesn't come naturally to them. It often makes them feel exposed, vulnerable, out of control. So if they're letting emotion rise to the surface, it means part of them is willing, or at least fighting not to run. And this is the moment where you must stay very grounded. Not with a quick, I miss you too. Not with full belief that they're coming back for good. Because a surge of emotion has never been enough to rebuild a secure relationship. Your secure strategy now, keep your boundaries intact. Don't invalidate their feelings, but don't carry them either. Watch their patterns. Are they consistent? Are they taking responsibility? Focus on behavior, not just the beauty of their words. You can respond with warmth, with presence, but not with self-abandonment. Because ultimately, no matter how honest the words, they still have to make a decision. Do they truly want connection? Or are they just seeking emotional relief? And that's where stage 7, commitment or closure, begins. The final crossroads, where they can no longer hide behind vague language or subtle tests, but must choose a direction. If they are genuinely ready to commit, you'll see it. Consistent communication, clear intentions like, I want to do this the right way. Actions that match their words, not just, I miss you, but let me show up. But if they choose to walk away, they'll do it gently but firmly. Not because you weren't enough, but because they're not yet strong enough to love you in a healthy way. And whether they stay or go, you still win. Because you've kept the most important thing, your dignity, your peace, and your self-worth. In the end, this journey was never about waiting for someone to return. It was about watching in full awareness how someone moves when faced with intimacy, vulnerability, and the mirror of true connection. Whether they come back with clarity and commitment, or walk away still trapped in their fear. You've already done the most important work. You didn't chase. You didn't betray yourself. You didn't shrink to be chosen. Instead, you held your ground, not out of pride, but out of respect for yourself. You gave space not to manipulate, but to observe. And now, whatever choice they make at stage 7, you won't be left wondering if it was your fault. You met their silence with self-respect. You answered uncertainty with stillness. And you let your peace speak louder than your desperation ever could. That is the path of someone becoming secure, even after being hurt. So if you're still in the middle of the waiting, or you've just passed the final stage, let this be your reminder. You are not here to beg for love. You are here to build a life where love feels safe, reciprocal, and earned. Whether they rise to meet you or fade away, you stay rooted, because the most important reunion was never with them. It was always with you. And if no one told you this yet today, you're not hard to love. You're just finally done accepting the kind that runs away.